You know when you're the responsible sibling and your family starts treating you like some kind of backup parent? That's basically been my role since high school. I'm 28 now, my younger sister Emma is 25, and it feels like everyone still sees me as the one who's supposed to fix things whenever she messes up. The thing is, I don't hate being that person. I've always looked out for her. I helped her with rent when she first moved out. I drove across town at 2 a.m. when she got stranded at a bar because her ex took her keys. I even let her crash on my couch for 3 months a couple years ago when she couldn't stand her roommates. But I swore to myself after that last time, never again. Here's why. It wasn't just 3 months of a couch guest. It was 3 months of my food disappearing, my utilities spiking, her borrowing my clothes, her leaving makeup stains on my towels, and her bringing people over without asking. And when I finally tried to push her to figure out her own living situation, she cried to our mom. And suddenly, I was the heartless older sister who was kicking Emma out on the streets. So yeah, I decided after that mess I'd never live with her again. Boundaries, right? Fast forward to last week. I was at work when my phone started blowing up, like 10 missed calls from Emma. I thought someone had died. When I finally picked up, she was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. All I caught was, He cheated on me. I can't believe it. I'm done with him. I can't stay here." Turns out her boyfriend of 3 years, Ben, cheated. And not just cheated. Emma walked in on him and some girl in their apartment. She didn't give me all the details, but apparently there were clothes on the floor, wine glasses on the counter, the whole cliché scene. She said she grabbed a suitcase and stormed out. I felt horrible for her. I really did. She sounded broken. I told her I'd leave work early and meet her at our parents' place so she'd have somewhere to land. But she immediately snapped. "No, I'm not going to mom and dad's. I'm coming to your place." My stomach dropped. I said, "Emma, I don't think that's a good idea. You know." And she cut me off with, "You have to let me. I can't stay at mom and dad's. They'll treat me like a child. Please, I need you right now. Just until I figure things out." That's when the dilemma started. Because here's the thing. My apartment isn't just my apartment anymore. My boyfriend, Jason, moved in with me 6 months ago. We've been together almost 3 years, and it's been going well. We split the rent, we grocery shop together, we've got our routines. It's the first time in my adult life I've felt like my home was truly my space. And the second Emma said, "I'm coming over," all I pictured was that chaos from before, her leaving dishes in the sink, her blasting music at 2 a.m., her passive-aggressive sighs if Jason and I wanted alone time. I felt this heavy knot in my chest. So I told her the truth. "Emma, I love you, but you can't move in here. Jason and I live together now, and this place isn't set up for a third person. I think it's better if you stay with mom and dad for a little bit." She went silent. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Then she said in this small, shaking voice, "You don't want me." That broke my heart. I tried to explain it wasn't about not wanting her. It was about boundaries, about how different things were now. But she didn't want to hear it. She hung up on me, and 10 minutes later, I got a text that said, "Don't bother calling. You've made your choice." I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like the worst person alive. When I got home, Jason could see I was upset. I told him what happened, and he actually hugged me and said he was proud of me for standing my ground. He reminded me how awful it was the last time Emma lived with me, and how unfair it would be to both of us if we let her move in now. Logically, I know he's right. But emotionally, my family is making me feel like garbage. Because the next day, my mom called me and started in with, "I don't understand how you can turn your back on your own sister when she's going through the worst time of her life." I tried to defend myself, but she kept saying, "It's just temporary. Why are you being so cold? Emma would do it for you." Which, no, she wouldn't. She never has. Now Emma's not speaking to me. My mom is disappointed, and my dad told me he expected better from me as the older sibling. And I'm stuck here wondering if maybe they're right. Maybe I really am the bad guy for not letting her move in, even though it would blow up my own life. But then again, maybe not. Because last night, I saw something that made me question if this whole helpless sister thing is even what it seems. So, remember how I said last night I saw something that made me question everything? Here's what happened. Jason and I went out for a late dinner. Nothing fancy, just this little Mexican spot a couple blocks away. We were halfway through sharing chips and salsa when Jason suddenly froze, leaned toward me, and whispered, "Isn't that Emma?" I turned around, and sure enough, there she was. My sister. Except she wasn't sobbing, heartbroken, suitcase in hand Emma. She was sitting at the bar in a cute little black dress, laughing, hair done up, with a margarita in her hand. And next to her, some guy? Not Ben. Not any guy I'd ever seen her with before. Jason raised his eyebrows at me like, didn't she say she was devastated? I just stared. My brain was trying to reconcile the image in front of me with the phone call from the day before. She looked fine. More than fine. She looked like someone on a first date. Part of me wanted to storm over and demand answers, but another part of me thought maybe I was overreacting. People cope in different ways, right? Maybe she really was devastated, but she didn't want to sit alone at mom and dad's house crying into a pint of ice cream. Maybe she was just distracting herself. I tried to let it go, but the next morning things got worse. I woke up to a text from mom. "Emma stayed with a friend last night. You didn't need to be so harsh with her." Stayed with a friend? Was friend code for the random guy at the bar? I didn't even know what to say, so I didn't respond. Later that afternoon, Emma finally texted me for the first time since hanging up on me. "I can't believe you. After everything I've done for you, you couldn't even let me stay one night." That part got me heated. Everything she's done for me. Excuse me? I racked my brain and couldn't come up with a single time Emma had gone out of her way to support me in the way I've supported her. So I called her. It went straight to voicemail. I was pacing my apartment, trying to figure out what to do, when Jason said, "Look, if she needs help, she should be with your parents. You've already offered that. It's not on you to fix her life." And I know he's right. But then, as if the universe wanted to keep me second-guessing myself, Mom called again. "Your sister is crushed," she said, in that guilt-heavy tone she always uses. "She feels abandoned. We told her she could always count on family, and now she feels like she can't." I tried to stay calm. "Mom, she can count on family. She can count on you. Why does it have to be me? I have my own life now. I live with Jason." Mom sighed. "Because you're her sister. It's different. You're closer in age. She needs someone who understands. She doesn't want to feel like a teenager under our roof again." I bit my tongue so hard it hurt. Because the truth is, Emma acts like a teenager no matter whose roof she's under. But here's the kicker. That night, Jason got a DM on Instagram. From Emma. She had never DM'd him before, so he thought it was weird. He showed me right away. It said, "Hey, can you talk some sense into your girlfriend? I really need a place to stay, and she's being selfish. Maybe if you explain how important this is, she'll listen to you." I saw red. Not only was she ignoring me, she was trying to go behind my back and convince Jason. I couldn't believe it. Jason didn't respond. He wanted me to decide what to do. I ended up sending Emma a message directly. "Don't drag Jason into this. This is between you and me. I already said no. Stop trying to go around me." Her reply came fast. "Wow, you've really changed. I hope you enjoy your perfect little life while your sister has nowhere to go." Now here's where things get messy. Because later that same night, I got a call from Ben. Yes, the ex she supposedly walked in on. At first, I thought maybe he was calling to apologize to Emma through me or something. But no. His first words were, "Hey, just so you know, Emma's telling people I kicked her out. That's not true. She left on her own." I froze. "Wait, what? She said you cheated on her." He sighed. "I'm not saying I've been perfect. We've had issues. But she didn't catch me with someone. She was already packed before that fight even started. I think she was looking for an excuse to leave." I didn't know what to believe. Emma was my sister. Ben wasn't exactly trustworthy, but the way she'd been acting, suddenly it didn't seem impossible. Jason heard the whole thing, and afterward he said, "This isn't about helping her. This is about her manipulating you again. And if you let her move in, she'll never leave." I wanted to argue, but deep down, I knew he might be right. Still, the guilt ate at me. I tossed and turned all night, wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. And then, the next morning, something happened that made the choice feel a lot less hypothetical. Because I woke up to the sound of someone pounding on my apartment door. And when I opened it, there was Emma, suitcase in hand. When I opened the door and saw Emma standing there with her suitcase, I swear my heart dropped to the floor. She looked defiant. Not tear-streaked or broken like before. She was in leggings and a hoodie, hair up in a bun, holding her suitcase like she had every intention of dragging it inside whether I liked it or not. "Hey," she said, like nothing was wrong. Like I hadn't told her multiple times that she couldn't move in. I just need to crash here for a bit. Behind me, I could feel Jason stiffen. He didn't even come to the door. He stayed in the kitchen, but I knew he was listening. I swallowed hard. Emma, I told you. This isn't going to work. You need to stay at Mom and Dad's for now. Her smile dropped. Seriously? You're really going to do this to me? I have nowhere else to go. I glanced down at her suitcase. Clearly you had time to pack. Where have you even been staying? Her face flickered, just for a second, like I'd caught her off guard. Then she recovered. With a friend. But I can't stay there anymore. So it's either here or the street. That guilt she always knows how to twist started bubbling up again. I hated it. My instinct was to move aside and let her in. She was my little sister. What kind of monster turns their own sister away? But then I pictured the last time she lived with me. The mess, the late-night drama, the fights. And I thought about Jason. This wasn't just my decision anymore. I shook my head. Emma, no. I'm not saying you can't get help, but you can't just show up uninvited and expect to stay here. That's not fair to me. Or Jason. Her eyes narrowed. Oh, so it's Jason who doesn't want me here. Figures. He's always hated me. That set Jason off. He came into the doorway, voice calm but firm. This isn't about me, Emma. It's about boundaries. We live here together. This isn't your backup apartment. Emma's mouth fell open like he'd slapped her. She turned back to me, eyes shining like she was about to cry. Wow, you're really letting him come between us? After everything? And that's when I snapped a little. After everything, Emma? You mean after I supported you every time you screwed up? After I let you stay here before, and you took advantage of me? After I bailed you out more times than I can count? Don't you dare act like I owe you this. Her face went red. She looked between me and Jason, like she couldn't believe we were standing our ground. Then she said, low and bitter, fine. If that's how it is, I'll remember this. And she turned and dragged her suitcase down the hall. I shut the door, leaned against it, and just shook. My hands were trembling. Jason wrapped his arms around me. You did the right thing, he whispered. But my chest still ached. Because within an hour, my phone started blowing up again. First it was Mom. Emma just came here in tears. She says you slammed the door in her face. What's wrong with you? Then Dad. I don't understand how you could be so cruel. She's your sister. And finally, Emma herself. Don't bother calling me. You've made it very clear I can't count on you. I felt sick. No matter how justified I knew I was, my whole family was now against me. Jason kept saying, let them be upset. They'll get over it. But I wasn't so sure. Because later that night, while Jason was in the shower, I noticed something. I picked up his phone to check the time. And right there, another DM notification from Emma. The preview just said, she doesn't have to know. My blood ran cold. I just stood there staring at Jason's phone, my pulse hammering in my ears. She doesn't have to know. It was like every word screamed at me. I could barely breathe. Jason was still in the shower. I wanted to open the message right then and there, but it felt wrong. Like I was snooping. Except, wasn't it already wrong that Emma was even messaging him at all? I put the phone back down, sat on the edge of the couch, and tried to calm down. My head was spinning. What does she mean? What doesn't she want me to know? By the time Jason came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, humming like nothing was wrong, I was practically shaking. He noticed right away. Hey, what's going on? You look pale. I blurted it out. Emma messaged you again. He frowned. What? When? Just now. I saw the notification on your phone. My voice cracked. It said, she doesn't have to know. Jason froze, towel still in his hand. His face went blank, like he was trying to decide what to say. That moment of silence stretched on forever. Finally, he sighed and grabbed his phone off the counter. He opened the DM, and I leaned over to see. The full message was, she doesn't have to know I reached out again. I just don't want her mad at me. Please tell her to reconsider. I swear it won't be for long. My stomach dropped. Okay, so maybe it wasn't what I thought, at least not flirting or anything, but it still felt wrong. She was deliberately trying to go around me. Jason handed me the phone, shaking his head. I didn't respond before, and I'm not going to now. She's crossing a line. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But the way Emma had phrased it, it wasn't just a desperate plea. It was sneaky, manipulative, like she wanted to drive a wedge between us. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured Emma whispering in Jason's ear, trying to convince him I was being selfish. The next day, things escalated even more. I went to my parents' house for Sunday dinner, a tradition I hadn't missed in months. When I walked in, everyone was already sitting around the table. Emma was there too, arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd murdered her puppy. Mom immediately started in. I hope you're ready to apologize. I froze halfway to my chair. Apologize? For what? For slamming the door on your sister when she needed you most. I whipped my head toward Emma. Are you serious? That's not what happened. You showed up uninvited with your suitcase after I already told you no. Emma's lip trembled. You make it sound like I was trying to trap you. I just needed help. But you don't care. My dad shook his head. I raised you better than this. Family comes first. Jason tried to jump in. With all due respect, she's not wrong for setting boundaries. We can't just turn our place into a revolving door whenever someone has drama. But that only made it worse. My mom snapped. You don't get to speak for this family. The whole dinner was a disaster. Every word I said was twisted against me. By dessert, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and told Jason we were leaving. As we drove home, I felt tears prickling my eyes. They hate me, I whispered. Jason squeezed my hand. They don't hate you. They're just enabling her. You're the only one who sees it. I wanted to believe him. But then, the text started. From an unknown number. Wow, some sister you are. Poor Jason. Stuck with someone so cold. If he was smart, he'd realize who actually cares. My blood turned to ice. It had to be Emma. But the number was blocked. No contact info, no name. Just message after message dripping with venom. And one of them said something that made me nearly throw up. He looked good in that towel, by the way. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost dropped the phone. He looked good in that towel. That wasn't a coincidence. That wasn't some random troll or spam number. The only person who could have seen Jason like that recently was Emma. I shoved the phone toward Jason, voice trembling. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. He squinted at the screen, reading the texts. His face went pale. What the? Who the hell is this? You're asking me? I snapped. It's her. Who else would say something like that? You think some stranger just happened to know you walked out of the bathroom in a towel last night? Jason ran a hand through his hair, pacing the living room. No way. She wasn't here. She couldn't have seen me. But my brain was spiraling. What if she had been here? What if she'd followed me home after dinner at Mom and Dad's? I hadn't even checked behind me when we left. I was too upset. My skin crawled at the thought. I dialed the number immediately. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Then I texted back. Emma, I know this is you. Stop. Right now. No reply. Jason pulled me into his arms, but I was stiff against him. My thoughts were racing, my stomach in knots. Was I being paranoid? Or was my own sister really trying to what? Sabotage my relationship? Mess with my head? That night, I barely slept. Every little sound in the apartment made me sit up. At one point, around 2 a.m., I swore I heard footsteps in the hall outside our door. Jason got up, checked, said it was nothing, but I wasn't convinced. The next morning, I decided enough was enough. I drove straight to my parents' house before work. Emma was in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone, looking like she didn't have a care in the world. I slammed my phone down on the counter. Want to explain this? She glanced at the screen, then at me, with the most innocent expression I'd ever seen. What's that? Don't play dumb. These texts. You sent them. Emma blinked, then smirked. Why would I waste my time doing that? Because you're obsessed with controlling me. Because you're mad I won't let you live with me. Because you can't stand that I'm happy without you leeching off me. Her smirk dropped into a scowl. Wow, paranoid much? Maybe Jason's the one sending himself those messages so you'll blame me. That stopped me cold. For a second, I almost believed her. But then I remembered the towel comment. No, she was deflecting. Mom walked in just then, of course, and immediately demanded to know what the fight was about. When I showed her the texts, she gasped, then turned on me. Do you hear yourself? She scolded. Accusing your sister of something like this? She's heartbroken and you're piling on. Shame on you. I wanted to scream. But who else could have sent them? Emma crossed her arms, eyes glinting. Maybe you should be asking Jason that question. I left before I did something I'd regret. The whole drive home, my brain was spinning. What if she was right? What if Jason was hiding something from me? But no. He'd show me the messages. He'd been just as freaked out as me. Still, that tiny seed of doubt had been planted. When I got home, Jason was at the table, working on his laptop. He looked up when I came in. You went to see her, didn't you? I nodded, slamming my phone down. She denies it. She said maybe you're the one sending them. Jason actually laughed, like it was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. Seriously? That's insane. Why would I do that? I know. I know. I rubbed my temples. But she's making me question everything. And the worst part? Mom believes her. Jason closed his laptop and came over to sit beside me. Look, whatever game she's playing, we can't let her win. Block the number. Don't engage. If she keeps pushing, we'll handle it. I wanted to believe him. But later that night, as I was brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed again. Another text. From the same blocked number. He's lying to you. He tells you one thing, but he tells me another. I dropped my toothbrush in the sink, my heart racing. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely pick the phone back up. The next one came almost instantly. Ask him about Tuesday night. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I stared at the text, replaying the week in my head. What had even happened Tuesday night? I racked my brain. I'd worked late, gotten home around 8:30. Jason was already there, sitting on the couch watching TV. He'd said he'd just ordered pizza. We'd eaten together, nothing out of the ordinary. But the way the message was written, it was like a knife twisting. Like there was something I didn't know. Jason was in the other room, folding laundry. My palms were sweaty as I walked in, phone clutched tight. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. What did you do Tuesday night? He looked up, frowning. Tuesday? Worked from home, ordered pizza, watched Netflix. Why? I swallowed. Are you sure? He tilted his head. Yeah, why? I shoved the phone at him. Because someone thinks I should be asking you about it. He read the message, and his whole expression shifted. His jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. She's messing with you. She's trying to make you paranoid. But what if, my voice cracked, what if there's something you're not telling me? Jason dropped the shirt he was folding and ran both hands over his face. I swear to you, I didn't do anything. If you don't believe me, check the receipts. I literally Venmo'd the pizza guy. My card statement will show it. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But the doubt wouldn't go away. Emma had planted it too deep. Jason came over, gently took my phone out of my hands, and set it down. She's manipulating you. This is exactly what she wants, to drive a wedge between us. Don't let her win. I nodded, but my chest still felt tight. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Tuesday in my head, over and over. Every tiny detail. The sound of the pizza box opening. The way Jason had said, anchovies? Really? Because I'd ordered them by mistake. The show we'd watched together. It had all felt normal. But now, with that text echoing in my head, I couldn't stop wondering. What if he wasn't home before I got there? What if he left? What if he met her? The next day at work, I caved. I pulled up Jason's Venmo account while he was in the shower that morning. He'd left it logged in on his laptop. And yeah, there it was. Tuesday night, 7:48 p.m., a Venmo to Pizza Palace. My shoulders sagged with relief. He hadn't lied. He really had been home. But then my stomach twisted again. Because if he hadn't lied, then that meant Emma was straight up fabricating things. That evening, I finally snapped. I called her, no warning, no soft voice. Why are you sending me these messages? Her voice was calm, almost smug. What messages? The ones about Jason. The towel. Tuesday night. All of it. Stop. She laughed. Actually laughed. Wow, you're really losing it, huh? Blaming me for your relationship problems. Maybe you should ask yourself why you don't trust him. My hand clenched so hard around the phone my knuckles turned white. Because you keep putting ideas in my head. Do you get off on this? Messing with me? Trying to ruin my life? She lowered her voice. I don't have to try. You're doing that all on your own. And then she hung up. I stood there shaking, while rising in my throat. Jason came into the room a second later, eyebrows raised. What happened? She won't admit it. She keeps twisting it back on me. Jason's jaw tightened. Then we cut her off. For good. No more calls, no more texts, nothing. She's toxic, and she's dragging you down with her. I knew he was right. But cutting Emma off wasn't that simple. Because the second I tried, my parents would swoop in. They already thought I was cruel. If I went no contact, they'd probably never forgive me. And deep down, no matter how much she hurt me, Emma was still my sister. But the line had to be drawn somewhere. I thought I'd reached my breaking point. Until 2 days later, when Jason came home looking pale and shaken. He dropped his keys on the counter and said, You're not going to believe what I just found taped to my car windshield. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, in messy handwriting, were 6 words that made my blood run cold. She doesn't deserve you. I do. I just stared at the paper in my hands. My vision blurred, my chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a band around my ribs and kept pulling. She doesn't deserve you. I do. It was her handwriting. I knew it. I'd seen Emma scribble notes, grocery lists, birthday cards. The way she made her lowercase d with that dramatic loop, the way the S curled sharp at the end. There was no doubt in my mind. Jason rubbed the back of his neck, pacing the kitchen. I told you, she's obsessed with trying to tear us apart. But this is next level. I whispered, what if she really means it? He stopped pacing, looked at me sharply. What do you mean? What if it's not just about staying here? What if? I swallowed hard, the words catching in my throat. What if she wants you? Jason's face twisted, half disgust, half disbelief. No, absolutely not. She's just trying to make you miserable. That's her game. She doesn't want me. She wants control over you. But my stomach didn't settle. I kept hearing her voice from our last phone call. That smug tone. I don't have to try. You're doing that all on your own. I shoved the note back at him. We need proof. Something solid. Because if we show this to my parents, they'll say I wrote it myself just to smear her. Jason sighed. Okay, proof. How? That night we installed a little doorbell camera, one of those motion sensor ones. Jason ordered it same-day delivery. It wasn't just about the notes. I needed to know if Emma had been coming around without me knowing. The thought made my skin crawl. For a few days, nothing happened. No texts, no calls, no notes. I almost started to think maybe she'd gotten bored. Maybe she'd finally realized she'd gone too far. But then Sunday rolled around. Dinner at my parents' again. Jason didn't even want to go, but I thought maybe, just maybe, it was time to face it head on. When we walked in, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Emma was already sitting at the table, arms folded, eyes sharp. Mom barely looked at me. Dad gave Jason a curt nod. Nothing more. Halfway through dinner, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled the note out of my purse and set it on the table. Care to explain this, Emma? Her eyes flickered, just for a split second, before she leaned back in her chair, smirking. What's that supposed to be? You know what it is. Your handwriting. Your words. You left it on Jason's car. Mom gasped. Dad frowned. Emma, did you do this? Emma snorted. Seriously? This is pathetic. She's making things up now because she feels guilty for abandoning me. That's not my handwriting. Anyone could have written that. I slammed my hand on the table. Don't you dare lie. I know your handwriting like the back of my hand. Mom jumped in immediately, her voice sharp. Enough. Both of you. We're not turning dinner into a circus. But Emma leaned forward, her voice calm, calculated. Honestly, maybe you should think about why you're so quick to believe I'd do something like that. Maybe deep down, you know Jason isn't as loyal as he pretends to be. Jason's chair scraped back as he stood up. That's it. I'm done. I don't need to sit here while your sister plays mind games. He walked out, slamming the door behind him. My parents stared at me like I was the problem. Emma just smiled faintly, like she'd won. I left in tears. When I got home, Jason was sitting on the couch, hands clasped, staring at the floor. He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes that scared me doubt. Not in me, but in whether this was all worth it. He said quietly, I can't live like this, Opie. I love you. But if your sister keeps pulling this, and your parents keep enabling her, I don't know how much longer I can do it. My chest cracked open. I sat beside him, grabbing his hands. Please, don't let her win. That's what she wants. She wants to destroy this. Jason nodded slowly, but I could see the cracks forming. Later that night, after he went to bed, I stayed up scrolling through old photos, old texts, trying to make sense of how Emma had turned into this. She'd always been dramatic, selfish, but this was obsession. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A new notification from the doorbell camera. Motion detected. I opened the app, heart pounding. The grainy footage showed a figure in a hoodie standing outside our apartment door. The person bent down, slipped something under the doormat, then hurried away. I crept to the door, lifted the mat with trembling fingers. There was another note. This one was longer. Scrawled across a ripped piece of notebook paper. He deserves someone who actually cares. You're selfish, cold, and unworthy. When he finally sees that, he'll come to me. And I'll be waiting. I stood frozen in the doorway, the note shaking in my hand. My chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. The words burned in my eyes. When he finally sees that, he'll come to me. And I'll be waiting. This wasn't petty sibling drama anymore. This was something darker. Jason came out of the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. "What are you doing out here?" I silently handed him the note. His face went white as he read it. "That's it. We're calling the police." But even as he said it, I could see the hesitation in his eyes. Because how do you explain something like this to the cops? "Hi, my girlfriend's sister is leaving creepy love notes for me because she wants me to break up with her." It sounded insane. I whispered, "They'll just say it's a family issue. They won't take it seriously." Jason clenched his jaw. "Then we need to show your parents. They have to see what she's doing." The thought made me sick. My parents already thought I was the villain. What would they say if I accused their precious Emma of stalking us? But Jason was right. We couldn't keep this between us anymore. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Jason refused to come. He said he'd lose his temper if Emma was there. Sure enough, she was sitting at the kitchen counter, sipping coffee like she owned the place. I slammed the note down on the table. "Explain this." Emma glanced at it, then gave me the fakest wide-eyed look I'd ever seen. "What's that supposed to be?" Don't you dare act clueless. You left this under my doormat last night. The doorbell camera caught you." Her smile twitched for just a second, but then she shrugged. "That's not my handwriting. Anyone could have left it." Mom picked up the note, frowning. "I don't recognize this either." "Opie, are you sure you're not exaggerating?" I wanted to scream. "Exaggerating? Look at it. Look at what it says. Who else would leave this?" Emma leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Maybe you should think about why you're so afraid. Maybe it's not about me at all. Maybe it's about the fact that you don't trust Jason." I slammed my fists on the counter. "Stop trying to twist this on me. You're obsessed with him. Everyone can see it. Why can't you just admit it?" Dad finally spoke, his voice sharp. "Enough. You two sound like children. Emma's not obsessed with anyone. This is ridiculous." I stared at them, tears burning in my eyes. "So you really think I'd make this up? That I'd write these notes myself just to frame her?" Silence. No one looked at me. Not even Emma. I stormed out before I completely lost it. Back home, Jason tried to comfort me, but I could see he was unraveling too. "If they won't step in, we have to protect ourselves. Restraining order, police report, something." I nodded, but my stomach was in knots. Because if I went that route, I'd lose my family for good. That night, I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., I heard a noise outside, like soft footsteps on the stairs. I crept to the door, heart pounding, and peeked through the peephole. At first, I saw nothing, just shadows. But then, movement. Someone crouching low by the door, fiddling with something. I yanked the door open before I could stop myself. And there she was, Emma, hood up, eyes wide, caught like a deer in headlights. In her hand, another folded note. When I yanked the door open and saw her crouched there, hood pulled over her head like some bargain bin stalker, my entire body surged with adrenaline. My voice came out sharp, shaking with fury. "What are you doing?" Emma froze, the folded note in her hand trembling just slightly. For a second, she looked like she might bolt. Her eyes flicked toward the stairwell, like she was calculating if she could run for it. But then her face shifted. The fake innocence slipped back on like a mask. She straightened up, holding the note like it was nothing incriminating at all. "I was dropping this off for you," she said, her voice light, sing-song, like she'd brought me cookies instead of another obsessive message. Jason stormed up behind me, his voice thunderous. "Give me that." He snatched the note out of her hand before she could react. Emma's eyes went wide, her mouth dropping open in offense. "Excuse me? That was private." Jason tore it open, and my stomach lurched as his eyes scanned the page. His jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. He handed it to me silently, his hands shaking with rage. I unfolded it. "You'll realize eventually. She's not the one for you. She doesn't listen. She doesn't understand you like I do. I see you. I've always seen you. When you finally get tired of her coldness, I'll be waiting. Don't let her guilt you into staying. You deserve better. You deserve me." My breath hitched. My world tilted. She had actually written it out. No cryptic hints. No maybe plausible deniability. Just pure, obsessive fixation on Jason. I looked up at her, tears burning my eyes. How could you do this? Emma's expression flickered again, from defiance to something almost unhinged. Her lips curled in a bitter smile. Because he deserves better than you. You don't even see him. You just want someone to share bills with, someone to play house with. But me? I actually see him. Jason's voice boomed, louder than I'd ever heard it. You're insane. Do you hear yourself? You're talking about your sister's boyfriend. Do you have any idea how messed up this is? But Emma didn't flinch. She just kept her eyes locked on me, her smile twisting. He doesn't have to pretend with me. He doesn't have to walk on eggshells like he does with you. That was the final straw. Jason pulled out his phone. I'm calling the cops. Right now. That snapped the mask off. Emma lunged forward, her hand grabbing his wrist. No. Please, don't. Don't do that. Jason shoved her back, his face dark with fury. Stay the hell away from us. Emma's breathing grew frantic, her voice pitching higher. You don't understand. Mom and Dad will never forgive you if you call the police. You'll ruin everything. Please, Opie, you can't let him. Ruin everything? I snapped, my whole body shaking. Emma, you've already ruined everything. You've destroyed my relationship with Mom and Dad. You've poisoned our family. And now you're trying to take the one person who actually loves me? For what? Because you can't stand me being happy without you? Her face twisted, ugly and raw. Because you don't deserve it. You've always been the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect little life. Everyone praises you while I get treated like the screw-up. For once, just once, I wanted something for myself. And I wanted him. The silence that followed was suffocating. Jason's chest rose and felt like he'd just run a marathon. My vision blurred with tears. You're sick, I whispered. You're my sister. Emma's lips trembled, her bravado cracking. And you'll never love me the way he could. You'll never love anyone the way they deserve, because all you care about is yourself. Jason stepped between us, his voice low and shaking with rage. Get out. Don't come back here. If you set foot near us again, I'll press charges, and I don't care what your parents think. Do you understand me? Emma's eyes darted between us, her face crumbling. For the first time, she actually looked scared. She turned, stumbling down the stairs, her footsteps echoing until they disappeared into the night. I collapsed against the wall, sliding down until I hit the floor. Jason knelt beside me, wrapping his arms around me. I was sobbing, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. She was my sister, I kept repeating. She's my sister. Jason kissed my hair, his own voice breaking. I know, but she's not the sister you thought she was. The next day, I braced myself for the inevitable phone call from my parents. Sure enough, around noon, my mom called. I could hear the fury in her voice before she even spoke. How could you do this to Emma? My heart sank. Do what? She came home last night in tears, saying you and Jason attacked her, threatened to call the police on her. She's terrified. I laughed bitterly, though it came out more like a choke. Terrified? She's been leaving love notes for Jason under our door. She's stalking us, Mom. I caught her red-handed. Mom scoffed. Oh, please. That's ridiculous. She told us you planted those notes yourself to make her look crazy. Why would she ever go after her own sister's boyfriend? The betrayal sliced deeper than anything Emma had done. Because she admitted it. She stood in my doorway and admitted she thinks Jason deserves better, that he deserves her. And you're really going to sit there and call me a liar? Mom's voice turned icy. I don't know who you've become, but you're not the daughter I raised. You've changed. You've let that man poison you against your own family. The call ended with her hanging up on me. I sat there staring at my phone, numb. Jason came over, rubbing my back, whispering. We knew they'd take her side. But knowing it didn't make it hurt any less. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about our childhood. About all the times I'd taken the blame for Emma's mistakes because you're the older one. You should know better. About how every fight ended with me apologizing just to keep the peace. About how she always pushed and pushed until I bent. It hit me then. She'd never grown out of it. She just found new ways to manipulate me. And the scariest part? My parents had never stopped enabling it. They'd built her this safety net where she could do anything and still land softly. And now, she'd carried that into adulthood. Except this time, she wasn't just stealing my clothes or my makeup. She was trying to steal my life. I made my decision. The next morning, Jason and I went to the police station. We filed a harassment report. We showed them the notes, the camera footage of Emma leaving one at our door, the text from the blocked number. The officer listened patiently, jotting things down. He said they couldn't issue a restraining order immediately without a judge, but they could start the process. He advised us to save everything, not to engage, and if Emma showed up again, to call right away. It wasn't much, but it was something. When we got home, Jason hugged me tight. "You did the right thing," he whispered. But even as he said it, I knew things weren't over. Because later that night, my phone buzzed with a new message. This time, it wasn't from a blocked number. It was from Emma herself. And it said, "If you think the police can protect you from me, you're wrong. Jason will realize eventually. You can't stop it." After Emma's message, "You can't stop it," I felt that old, familiar tremor in my hands. The kind I used to get before big exams, except this was worse because there wasn't a test I could study for. There was just my sister, and a line I had finally crossed that she was determined to drag me back over. Jason put his phone down carefully, like it might shatter if he blinked too hard. "We're not responding," he said. "Everything goes to the record now." I nodded. We screenshotted the message, sent it to the case email the officer had given us, and then I blocked her number. Blocking didn't stop the ache, though. It didn't stop the way my chest tightened when the elevator dinged in our hallway. It didn't stop me from jumping when pipes clanged or a neighbor dropped something heavy above us. The officer called the next morning. "We've logged your report and the footage," he said. "Given the messages and the note you found her delivering, a judge may grant a temporary restraining order. It's your choice if you want to pursue it." My mouth was dry. "I do." I surprised myself with how clear my voice sounded. I need to do this." He explained the process. Paperwork. A hearing within a week. Bring evidence. Keep all contact through the police if anything new happens. I hung up and stared at the living room wall for a long time. I guess I'd always had this fantasy that one day Emma would look at me and say, "I'm sorry. I messed up. I want to fix it." And I would hug her, and we'd cry and be sisters again. I didn't know how to grieve a person who wasn't gone, just unreachable. That afternoon, my mother called from the house phone, her serious line. I let it go to voicemail, then listened with Jason beside me. Her voice was tight. "Opie, your father and I heard you're trying to get a restraining order against your own sister. This has gone far enough. We're having dinner Sunday. You will come. We will talk like adults. Do not do anything dramatic before then." I saved the message to the evidence folder and texted back, short and steady. "I will meet you in a public place. Not the house. Bring Emma if you want. I'm bringing our proof." She responded with a thumbs up, as if we were discussing a casserole. We chose a bright, loud cafe 2 blocks from their place. Sunday afternoon, sunlight slanting across tables, cups clinking. Jason came with me, jaw set, hands folded so tight his knuckles were white. My parents were already there. Emma sat between them, put up like a shield, eyes rimmed in liner that made her look smaller and harder all at once. "Thank you for meeting," I said, my voice wobbling only a little. I put a folder on the table and my tablet next to it. "Before anyone says anything, I need you to see what we have." Mom opened her mouth. Dad lifted a palm. "Let her show us." So I did. I scrolled through screenshots of the text from the blocked number, the towel comment, the ask him about Tuesday. I hit play on the doorbell clip. Emma, in her hoodie, crouched at our mat with a folded note in her hand. The timestamp, the stairwell lighting, her face, unmistakable when she glanced up toward the lens after I yanked the door open. Dad leaned closer. I watched the moment the denial on his face cracked like ice under weight. Mom looked to Emma for the script. "Deep fakes," Emma said softly. "People do this now. She's punishing me for not worshiping her perfect life. She's always done this. You know that, Mom." Jason sucked in a breath like he'd been punched. I reached for his hand under the table. I slid the actual paper notes across the wood, sealed in clear sleeves. "Compare the handwriting to your birthday card last year," I said, a tremor slipping into my voice. "The looped D's, the sharp S's, the way you make your Y's dip. I know you're writing him. I spent years reading your reminder notes when you left them on my mirror." Dad picked up one sleeve, then another, then the old birthday card he dug out of his wallet flap. He didn't speak. Mom kept flicking her eyes between me and Emma, waiting for a story to cling to. I took a slow breath. "I'm not here to win, okay? I'm not here to humiliate anyone. I'm here because I'm scared. I didn't let you move in, Emma, and you retaliated by trying to dismantle my home. You messaged my boyfriend behind my back. You left notes for him saying he deserves you. You came to our door at 3 in the morning with another note. And when I asked for help, you told our parents I'm lying. That hurts more than I can explain. I pressed my palm to my sternum, willing my voice to steady. I love you. But love is not a hall pass to harm people. The cafe clatter filled the space. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Emma let out a breathy laugh, one I recognized from years of watching her wriggle out of consequences. You've always been dramatic, she said. You make yourself the hero in every story. I was hurting, and you slammed your door. If Jason was decent, he would have convinced you I needed help. Jason's chair scraped back. If I was decent. Emma, I wouldn't move my worst enemy in to terrorize the person I love. You aren't entitled to our space. We told you no. You ignored it. That's not help. That's trespassing. Emma lifted her chin. He's talking for you again. See, Mom? I leaned in. I'm talking for me. I am telling you no. Not now. Not ever, if this continues. I slid a printed packet across to my parents. The police case number, the restraining order petition. We're going forward. Mom's mouth trembled. You would do this to your own family? Family is supposed to make you feel safe, I said. Not hunted in your own hallway. Dad stared at the footage on the tablet again. His voice, when it came, was gravel. Emma, did you leave that note? She let the silence stretch, measuring which way the wind was turning. She set me up. Answer me. Her nostrils flared. Fine. I went over there because I knew she wouldn't pick up if I called. I wanted to talk to Jason since he's the only reasonable one. The note. She flicked her fingers at the plastic sleeve. Was just to get him to speak to me. Mom reached for her arm. Honey, I didn't stalk them. Emma snapped, loud enough that 2 tables looked over. Then, softer, she turned to me with something like pleading and something like challenge braided together. You were supposed to take care of me. You know that. You've always known that. I needed you. I offered Mom and Dad's house, I said. I offered rides, money for groceries, help finding a short-term sublet. I offered help without sacrificing my home with my partner. You didn't want help. You wanted control. Emma's eyes watered. For a blink, a flash of that little sister I used to braid hair for, who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Then she blinked it away. You think you're better than me. I think I'm allowed to have a life that isn't built around fixing yours, I said. Dad closed the folder. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. We're done here, he said to Emma. You're coming home with us. No calls to your sister. No visits. You will not go to her building again. Emma's jaw dropped. Dad, enough, he said, and this time it carried the weight that had been missing all week. Mom's eyes were glossy and angry. We'll talk later, she told me, which in our house meant the conversation would continue until everyone was wrung dry. But she stood when Dad did. Emma followed, hugging herself, shooting me a look that was 1,000 things at once. Wound and warning, plea and promise. When they left, the cafe felt brighter. Or maybe that was just the sunlight finally reaching me. Jason let out a breath so long it shook his shoulders. He pressed his forehead to mine. You did it, he murmured. You actually did it. I didn't want to, I whispered. I wanted a sister. He squeezed my hands. You wanted safety. That's allowed. The hearing was 3 days later, a small courtroom with slatted blinds and the smell of old paper. We sat on one side, Emma on the other with our parents behind her. The judge was steady and efficient. I explained what had happened. Jason explained the notes on his car, the DMs, the night we found her at the door. We submitted the doorbell video, the screenshots, the voicemails. The judge asked measured questions. He asked Emma if she had anything she wanted to say. She started with denial and drifted toward justification, the way she always did when a wall closed in. They froze me out, she said. She made me feel like I was nothing. I just wanted to be heard. Her voice thinned. I just wanted a place to go. I offered a place, I said quietly. Just not my bedroom. The judge granted a 6-month temporary restraining order with the option to extend. He spoke to Emma like someone had spoken to him that way once, and he remembered how it felt. Calm. Firm. You may not contact them, no texts, calls, messages through others. You may not approach their residence or workplace. You must respect their boundaries. He looked at me and Jason. If anything happens, document it. Call us. When the gavel tapped, Emma's chair squeaked against the floor. She turned as if to say something to me, but Dad put a hand on her shoulder, gentle and final. Mom stared straight ahead, cheeks pink. eyes shining with that complicated mix. Anger, embarrassment, love knotted into something that looks nothing like love at all. Outside, the air felt sharper. Jason held my hand like he was rediscovering it. We didn't celebrate. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like finishing a long, painful surgery and hoping the infection doesn't come back. For a week, there was quiet. No notes. No messages. My phone, for the first time in months, returned to being just a phone. I cried in the shower one morning and couldn't even explain to Jason if they were relief tears or grief. Maybe both. Then Mom called. I let it ring 3 times before I picked up. "We're going to respect the order," she said, voice careful. "Your father insists." "He's right." A beat. "But I want you to know you've hurt your sister in a way that will take a long time to heal." I swallowed. I know she's hurt. I didn't do this to punish her. I did it to protect myself. Silence. Then, smaller. "I'm not used to you needing protection from us." "I've needed it for a long time," I said, and my voice surprised me with how steady it was. "I just finally did something about it." She exhaled through her nose, the sound of 1,000 unsent texts. "We love you," she said, and it sounded more like a duty than a comfort. "I'll check in on you next week." After we hung up, I stood at the window and watched a pair of kids on scooters zoom down the sidewalk. The sun threw their shadows long and playful. I tried to remember the last time my shadow felt light. Jason came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. "What are you thinking?" "That I hate that this is what it took," I said. "That I said no to her moving in, and it turned into all of this." "You said no to being a doormat," he murmured. "That always makes people who relied on the doormat angry." I leaned back against him. "Do you still want to live with me?" I asked in a small voice, because buried under all the drama was the simple fear that this would break us. He laughed softly, and I felt the sound in his chest. "I want to build a life with you," he said into my hair. "One with boundaries. One where your front door is a front door, not a revolving exit ramp for other people's choices." I nodded, tears burning my eyes again. "Okay." We bought a second camera for the hallway. We gave the building manager copies of the order. We started seeing a couples therapist, not because we were broken, but because we had been rattled and didn't want to pretend we hadn't been. I started seeing my own therapist too. She asked me where I had learned that love meant absorbing someone else's storms. I told her about birthday parties where I cleaned cake off the floor while everyone laughed, and report card days that ended with me apologizing for making Emma feel small by getting A's. We peeled those memories open like old wallpaper. 3 weeks later, Ben, the ex-boyfriend, texted me from an unknown number. Heard about the drama. For what it's worth, she had a habit of using people like life rafts. "I'm sorry you're in it now." I stared at the message a long time, then archived it. I didn't need his version of the story anymore. I had my own. Emma never contacted us again after the order. Maybe fear held her. Maybe pride. Maybe she finally found a couch to land on that wasn't mine. I don't know. I still think about her when it rains. I still have a shoebox with our childhood photos. Us in matching pajamas. Us with frosting on our faces. I still love that girl. I just can't set myself on fire to keep her warm anymore. I don't know what will happen with Emma down the line. Maybe in 6 months when the order expires, she'll try again. Maybe she'll finally find her footing somewhere else. Maybe we'll never speak again. I think about her sometimes, about how we used to whisper in bunk beds during sleepovers, or trade the marshmallows out of our cereal bowls, or team up to beg our parents for a dog. There's still love there. There probably always will be. But love doesn't mean sacrifice without end. Love doesn't mean handing over your home, your peace, your partner, just because someone demands it. Jason and I are rebuilding. Slowly, quietly. We've learned how strong we actually are when the world is pulling at our seams. We go on walks. We cook dinners. We laugh again without checking over our shoulders. It feels like the air has shifted, like our apartment is truly ours again. As for me, I've finally started untangling what it means to have boundaries. It's messy and it hurts, but it also feels like breathing after being underwater too long. I don't know if Emma will ever see it that way. I don't know if my parents will, either. But for the first time, I'm okay with that. Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to be anyone's safety net or scapegoat. I'm here to build a life where I feel safe, where love isn't twisted into obligation, and where the word no is allowed to stand without apology. And if that makes me the villain in someone else's story, so be it.